Hi, everyone. This is Melissa Anger. Thank you for joining us tonight. We also have Zach Cintron, who is moderating for us tonight. So thank you to Zach. And Steve Bennett sitting here with us, joining us in the office as well. So thank you guys for joining us tonight for the soccer preseason webinar. Just a quick something that I wanted to start with, different area fundraising opportunities. So if you go to any of these events, we have the Maryland Rockfish Open, we have all the torch runs, we have Over the Edge, which Over the Edge is kind of cool. You raise a certain amount of money and you get to rappel down a 16-story building. Or you could fundraise to send someone over the building. And then we also have the Geico Tunnel Run, which shuts down a borough of the Fort McHenry Tunnel, and you run down and back as a 5K. So it's all pretty cool. The money you raise, it shows how much each area gets. You will get 70% of the proceeds that you raise to do one of these fundraisers. So it's not, if you fundraise for this event and you go under the area, like you specify that you're with an area, your area gets 70% of it. The state is not taking all of it. We get 30%, you get 70% for your area program. So it's a nice little split for you guys to do that. So it's pretty nice. Just some options for you. And obviously we also have the Maryland State Police Polar Bear Plunge and Deep Creek Dunk, which is the same thing. You get 30%, or you get 70%. The state gets 30%, but at the same time, you have to specify that you're with a county program prior to it, so that you get the money for your county. So again, just to kind of take a look at this, just something to look at and see before we get started. So again, thank you guys for coming. My name is Melissa Anger. I am the sports lead for soccer, and I am a sports director at Special Olympics Maryland, for those of you that don't know me. Tonight, we're just going to go over the events offered, rule reminders, deadlines, qualifying competition dates, the team assessment forms, which have changed just slightly, coaching certification requirements, and then go over any questions. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. If you have any questions, you can type them into the question function, and Zach will be monitoring that and answering those as needed. And if there's something that he thinks the whole group should know, then he will stop us and ask the question out loud. Otherwise, he'll just type the answer to you. You can also raise your hand, and Zach will see that as well and stop me to unmute your line so that you can speak and ask a question there. So there's two different ways to ask questions. Zach will be monitoring both of those. I wanted to just start with some of the resources. Obviously, we have the soccer coaches resource page, which is what the picture is partially of. And that is new that we started in the spring. Basketball was, I think, the first real season that we used it in winter games, where anything that goes with the sport will be on there. So there's links to the rules and any rule changes, coaching guides, anything you need. It has all the competitions listed on there with who to contact, with the dates and the sanction forms. It will have the state competition information on there. So when the divisions and the schedule is done for the state tournament, that will be posted on there as well. And I'm hoping during the state competition to post periodic live updates of the results. The coaches resource page is very easy to read and can be looked at from a cell phone and still very easy to read. So that's a good thing about how we did the coaches resource pages. It is very mobile friendly.
And one other thing to add to that with the coaches resource page is we continuously update that and put information there. But you as coaches, if you're looking for something and you can't find it there, or you think there may be something that would benefit the other coaches, just contact Melissa, and we would be happy to put some more information on there. Again, it's very user-friendly. We've got a lot of good feedback. We want to continue to provide you guys the resources you need to make your job easier on that one-stop shop there at the resources page. So just let us know if there's anything else you need.
Thanks, Steve. So the events offered, obviously, it's all the same thing. We have 7v7, which we have traditional and unified, which are all adult teams. We also have 5v5 soccer teams, traditional and unified. These are all youth teams. So it's elementary, which is 8 to 11, middle school, which is 12 to 15, and high school, which is 16 to 21 years old. Those are all playing 5v5, which is a smaller field also. We also have 7v7 Player Development Unified, or PDU. That is where there's 5 athletes on the field and 2 mentors, which we'll go into a little bit more later. That is more of a transitional period to move up from 5v5 to 7v7, or for the athletes that are just learning the game of 7v7, it gives them a chance to try it with 2 mentors or coaches on the field at a time. We also have individual skills competition, or ISC, that we offer as well. Just a reminder, in the red box, you see the state tournament is Sunday, October 27th. And we, again, will be at the Crown Sports Complex in Fruitland, Maryland. Crown Sports has been amazing with us over the last couple of years. And we continue to go back there because they do treat us so well. And it's a great facility to have our state tournament. Just going over some rule reminders. Roster sizes, 7v7, any 7v7. So this is PDU and traditional and unified, is a minimum of 10 on a roster and a max of 14. So in unified, that also includes unified partners are included in that number. So you can't have 10 athletes and 6 unified partners. It has to be max of 10 players. I'm sorry, minimum of 10 players, max of 14 players. Unified partners, you must start the game with 4 athletes and 3 unified partners on the field. You can finish the game with 3 athletes and 3 partners. If an athlete gets hurt, you can play 3 and 3, or 3 athletes and 2 partners. You can never have more partners on the field than athletes. At that point, if an athlete gets hurt and you go down another one, you have to take a partner off the field as well. For 5v5, it's a minimum roster size of 8 and a max of 10. And again, for unified, you must have 3 athletes and 2 partners on the field to start the game. But you can finish with 2 and 2 or 2 athletes and 1 partner. Same thing, you cannot have more athletes or more partners on the field than you do athletes. For 7v7 player development, it's the same as 7v7 traditional and unified. It's a minimum of 10, a max of 14. And this does include mentors. So I know the mentors are just on there as coaches on the field, but they do count in your roster size. So please do not send me a roster with 14 athletes and then add the partners. Minimum of 10, max of 14, including everyone that will be on the field. At all times, you have to have 5 athletes and 2 mentors. You cannot have more than 2 mentors. You cannot have less than 2 mentors on the field at a time, and you have to have 5 athletes on the field at one time. Again, some more reminders. Once team assessments are turned in, you cannot make changes to your roster. Okay? These team assessments count as your final roster. Once they are sent to me, they are done. There's no changes after that. So you cannot move someone from one team to another after the team assessments have been turned in. Players may only play for one team during the season. Okay, so if you have 2 unified teams and one team is missing a bunch of unified partners, you cannot give unified partners to the other team. That does not count. Those games will not count, and that team will not be able to play. you must have the same players of the same team at all times during all games. If you don't have the 4 and 3 to start the game, then your team is not playing. Okay, that's automatic forfeit for that game. Again, I just talked about all that stuff. So please make sure once the team assessments are in, that is final. So make sure you have enough people in those teams and they are all reliable enough to play. I already went through these age groupings. 77 is all 22 and above. 5v5 is elementary, middle, and high school age athletes and partners. I'm not going to go through all this. The age groupings and the age group policy is in force. No change has been applied to this since we've gotten it, but it's good for them to see, you guys to see this on here. But take a look at this. Again, I'm just not going to read through all of this. These are just the soccer field's dimensions. It's a max for 7v7, 50 by 70 with a minimum of 50 by 35. So just take a look at these. If you host a competition, this is a great thing to see. So that if you're setting it up or if someone else is setting it up for you, they know the correct dimensions. The PDU field is the same as the 5v5 field, so it is a smaller field compared to other 7v7 fields. So just be sure if you are hosting 5v5 or 7v7 PDU, they are playing on a 5v5 field. In competitions, you cannot have a PDU team play against anyone but PDU teams. So even though they are 7v7, they cannot play against traditional and unified teams, and they cannot play against 5v5 teams. PDU can only play against PDU. 7v7, the timing is 2 20-minute halves with a 5-minute halftime. Again, you can have some variation in that. The ball, if the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline, it can be a kick-in or a throw-in. That's up to you guys. For 5v5, it's 2 15-minute halves with a 5-minute halftime, and the ball is always a kick-in from the side. Okay, so make sure you're teaching your athletes the correct way of doing this. This is something that we had a lot of concern about last year and a lot of discussion about during the season. I worked with my sports management team, which consists of our head official and a couple coaches that are like coaches that have been coaching for a long time. There is no heading in Special Olympics soccer at any level. Okay, that's a huge thing. You have to teach your athletes not to head. They cannot jump and try to head the ball. If it's in the air and it hits them in the head, that's a little different. But if they attempt to head the ball, the first time, the official will give a friendly reminder that it's not allowed and tell you and the athlete, if the player continues to attempt to head the ball, they will be asked to be taken out of the game. So the official will come to you. They'll stop the game. The official will come to you and say, this player needs to be taken out of the game. You need to talk to your players and remind them, no heading. If a player continues to attempt to head the ball, they will be ejected for the remainder of the game. And we will have to have a discussion about the rest of the tournaments and the rest of the games for that day. Please work with your athletes. No heading. That's a very, very, very big thing. No heading by athletes, unified partners, mentors. No one on the field can head the ball. Okay. I just want to go over some PDU highlights. Again, I'm not going to read over this, so if you are a player development coach, then please review this with your mentors. We have had some issues in the past a little bit. It's gotten better last year, so thank you guys very much. It's, like I said, in theory, it's a transitional level between skills and team play. It teaches them how to play the team game, because it is different than individual skills. As I mentioned, there's 5 athletes and 2 mentors. The goalie must be a Special Olympics athlete. It cannot be a mentor. Okay? It has to be an athlete. Mentors are pretty much coaches on the field. They're facilitating the game They're facilitating their athletes on their team. They are not players like a traditional unified team, so they pretty much cannot score or anything like that. We'll go over that, though. A mentor can give verbal and visual instruction to the player, give physical direction to the player, receive the ball if it comes to them naturally during the course of the game, so which means they cannot go after and try to steal the ball from someone. Or if it's kicked, they cannot run to try to steal it or intercept it or anything like that. They can keep the ball in play if it's going to go out of bounds, and there's no other players in the way of the ball. So if they're by themselves and the ball's about to go out of bounds, they can go save it. If there's an athlete right by it, you have to let the athlete try to save the ball. You cannot have the mentor go and take it from them and save it. They can start the offense following an opposing goal, but we want the athletes to bring the ball down the field. Okay, that's not the mentor's job to bring it down the field. We want the athletes to learn how to do that. And like I pretty much just said, the escorting of an athlete down the field, but they are advancing the ball. Explicit cannots for mentors. So I just went over what they can do. They cannot directly impact the course of the game. They cannot give instruction that is designed to distract or confuse the opposing team. So you're standing on the field, you're a coach on the field, you are not to interact and distract the other team. You are there to help your team only. They cannot score. That's a big thing. Mentors cannot score. Unified partners are allowed to score. We encourage them to score as long as they're not taking over the game. Mentors cannot score. They cannot steal the ball. They cannot block shots. They cannot intercept a pass from the opposing team. And they cannot impede the advancement of the opposing team down the field. A big thing is they cannot shoo away members of the opposing team when one of their team members has the ball. So if one of the athletes has the ball on your team, you cannot go up to the other athletes on the other team and say, you have to go over there, get away from the ball. You cannot tell them that they cannot play defense. That is not allowed. That is impeding the game and not teaching the athletes anything. They cannot excessively control the ball or the game. So, like I said, they're pretty much just there to be kind of off to the side, coaches on the field. I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but just some basics. All players must be properly attired, which means uniform, shorts, the proper shoes, and shin guards. They must wear shin guards. Jersey numbers can be anywhere from 1 to 99, but you cannot have the same numbers, duplicate numbers on the same team. All kind of common sense. Pants and shorts all have to be the same with different weathers. In the case of inclement weather, the pants underneath the shorts can be different colors depending on the weather, and that has to be okayed by the competition director and the head official. So pretty much you have to find me, and I had to say if it's okay or not. All undergarments, so if someone wants to wear leggings or the athletic tights underneath their shorts, that's fine. But if multiple people are wearing them, they have to be the same color. And shirts underneath as well. No hoodies. If they want to wear crew necks, that's a little different. But again, that's with the inclement weather, and that has to be okayed prior to the game. Anything that's worn under the uniform must be under. You cannot wear hoodies or anything. Even with the weather, you cannot wear rain jackets or hoodies or anything like that over top of the uniform. Your uniform has to be the outermost layer. And this uniform policy is also for the individual skills. This is not just team play. This is for individual skills, because we will have some athletes come to individual skills in not the proper uniform. And we will be implementing the uniform policy with the individual skills athletes as well.
And you know, we've had some questions about that in the past. This is Steve Bennett. It's basically for the dignity and respect of those athletes and preparing them for hopefully eventually going up to the team competition activities. But again, we want them to have that dignity and respect and look and feel the part of a soccer player when they're performing their best at the skills level station. So again, if you're a soccer player, you abide by the uniform requirements, regardless of what level or event you're in.
These are just kind of more uniform. If they want to wear cleats, that's fine, but they cannot be metal. And the cleats can only be outside. So 2 years ago, we had to play inside because of the weather. They cannot wear cleats inside on those turf fields. It has to be soft sole shoes inside or turf shoes. Either is fine. The goalkeeper shall wear colors, distinguishing them from other players and the referees. Our referees are really good about bringing multiple colors with them so that they don't match either of the teams playing. No jewelry can be worn. That includes watches, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, rings. Even unified partners, if they're married, cannot wear their wedding ring during the competition. That is still considered jewelry, and that must be taken off. I don't know how many arguments people have yelled at me about, well, I can't take it off, then you're not playing. Any sports, you must take off all jewelry. This is no exception. Your shin guards must be covered by socks, the long socks, at all times. Socks need to be of like colors for all members of the team. So if one person has pink socks, guess what? Everyone has to wear pink socks. So everyone has to have the same color socks for the entire team. That is part of the uniform.
One exception here on the cleats, not really an exception, but just a clarification. As skills is conducted inside, no cleats for those athletes that are participating in individual skills.
But they do have to wear shin guards because that is part of the proper uniform. I'm not going to go through this too much. Meaningful involvement. You cannot have players that can dominate. If you do, kind of work with them to be more of a team player. We will be looking at meaningful involvement. It's made to make all team members contribute and have a meaningful contribution to the team and the success of the team. So please just take a look at this, read it. It's made for the best interest of everyone on the team. You don't want someone just sitting on the sideline, they went in for 2 minutes and then they don't play again. And it's not fair to all the athletes if you have 1 or 2, 3 players playing the entire game over all these other athletes that are getting 2-3 minutes at a time. It's just not fair. You want meaningful involvement for everyone on the team. Okay, this is just kind of talking about meaningful involvement a little bit more, so please take a look at this. We will give warnings. After that, we could disqualify your team. So take a look at this. You guys have always typically done a very good job of meaningful involvement. There's been a couple incidents here and there, but after we've talked to you, most of the time it's been corrected. So just keep an eye out for us. Registration deadlines. The training registration deadline is going to be on August 29th. So this is for everyone to be entered into GMS, athletes, unified partners, coaches, volunteers, anyone that's going to be at your practices and training, whether they're going to the state competition or not, must be entered by this date, which means you need to get this list to your area directors in time. Okay? Team assessment forms are due on September 10th. I know that seems early, but it's just a couple days prior to the first competition, so I want to make sure I get them in so I can help with the correct divisioning for the first competition of the season. So again, the team assessment forms, we'll go over them a little bit later, but they count as your final roster. So once they are turned in, teams are set. Missing forms deadline is September 26th. So every person has to have a medical and all their paperwork completed by October 27th, not the 19th. I apologize about that. We will change that for when I send these out. So all medicals and all coach certifications must be valid through October 27th. Competition registration deadline. This is only for individual skills. You must have anyone competing in individual skills into GMS in their event, which is listed as individual skills competition, by October 3rd. Okay, I will be entering all the teams into GMS. You must enter anyone for individual skills that will be competing at the state event. So if they're training in individual skills but they're not coming to the state tournament, that's fine. You don't have to put them in there. Just let me know and we'll scratch them. I will be entering the teams in. Please, please, please tell your areas. Do not put teams into GMS. I will be doing that. It just messes things up for me on my end. Once I have them all in, I will send out a competition roster that I need all coaches to confirm because I am human. I do make mistakes. Entering all these teams in, there are times that I will accidentally put someone on the wrong team. Just let me know. I will make that change. Not a problem. It's a quick and easy change. But please go through those rosters and when I send them out after I enter them to confirm that it is complete. These are just some of the competition dates that we have so far. Howard County, again, will be hosting some of their competition, their league play, which does count as a qualifying competition for you guys. So they are hosting 4, which is amazing. So thank you to Howard County for doing that again for us, which is at Cedar Lane Park East. Same field it's been at since I've been here. Calvert County's hosting theirs on September 29th. The required adult qualifier will be held on October 6th. That is a Sunday at Severn School. That's the same it's been the last couple of years. Any adult team, that traditional or unified, that are competing need to be there, or they will not be able to compete at states. At the October 12th competition in Howard County, their league play, that will be the required PDU qualifier. So all PDU teams must attend this competition. They must be at the October 12th date at Howard County. The 5v5 required qualifier, so this is for any 5v5 team, elementary, middle, or high school team. It will be in St. Mary's County this year, which is amazing. So thank you to St. Mary's for offering to host that for us. That qualifier will also offer 7v7 and individual skills. So if you want to go down to St. Mary's County on October 13th, and you are a 7v7 team or individual skills, you can go down to those that qualifier, and it will count as a qualifier. All 5v5 teams must attend that one, or again, you will not be eligible for the state competition. If you would like to host a competition, let me know, and I will update our schedule with that on it. I just need a sanction form completed with date, time, location, all that fun stuff. I will work with you to get officials. Our head official, Bob, who has been doing it the last probably 4 or 5 years, is amazing. So he will help us get officials for all your competitions that you need. So let me know, and again, I will get it out to you. All these competitions are listed on the coach's resource page on the coach's resource page, on our website, and it has who to reach out to as well to register. And the Calvert one is in 2019. I just changed the first date, not the year. So I apologize for that. Team assessment forms. This is something that helps with the self-rating of the teams and helps with the beginning divisioning for the first couple of competitions. After the first couple of competitions, we'll be able to use results a little bit more than the ratings. But please, please, please take these serious and rate your team seriously. I do use them. It is very important that they are done correctly and filled out completely. Please do not turn in an old form because they are changed this year. So please, please, please turn in the new forms. If you turn in an old form, I'm going to send it back to you, and you still need to get the new form in by the deadline. Okay? As mentioned, they are due by September 10th to me, Melissa Anger. My email is in a lot of the pages. I'll send it out again. And again, just a reminder, SOMD, myself, will be entering in the teams into our computer system as we have previously done, based off of these team assessments. So make sure they are fully completed. This is the individual rating form. So what you're going to do is each athlete, you will complete this for each of the athletes. I don't need these for each individual athlete, so please don't send them. You'll take the scores from here, and the points are in the parentheses. So whatever one you think fits with that athlete the best, you put those points in the score box. You take all those scores, and you put it on this form. From here, you put everyone on your roster in here, and you're good to go. You fill in all of the categories from the previous page onto these, and then you get your total scores. Please, 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 again, fill this out completely. The whole top, I need all coaches' information. As you guys know, I like to send out a lot of emails, and I like to have as much coaches' information as possible to make sure you guys are fully informed at all times. So if I don't have information, or if I have incorrect information, you guys aren't getting the proper information yourselves, and it just causes a lot of issues. If you have coordinators, please put them on here as well under the sport volunteer/coordinator so that they can get the information also. Not everyone has coordinators, which is fine, not a big deal, but if you have one so that I know who they are, please put them on here, and I can keep them and make sure that they get included on all the emails as well. So I only need this summary page on September 10th. If you want to send it to me earlier, perfect. Whenever you send it to me, that's when your team is set. But I only need the summary page from you. And please do it send me the Excel file. I prefer not to have PDFs because then I will have to type it in, and sometimes the handwriting is not always the most legible. So it's simple. You just type it into the Excel. I'm going to send it to you in the Excel, and all you have to do is hit send back to me. Okay? Please send as a Excel, not PDF if possible. Coaches' requirements. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. All coaches must have a valid and current Class A volunteer application and background check. Protected behaviors. You take that quiz and get 100% on it. It's 10 questions. Really simple. Where to touch the athlete, where not to. When do you withhold water, aka never. Questions like that for protected behaviors. They also have to have the concussion training done and coaches Special Olympic athlete course. So all head and assistant coaches must complete the Coaching Special Olympics athletes course. If you have a unified team, you can take the Coaching Unified Sports course instead. That is fine. No problem. So if you, like I said, if you coach unified only, exclusively, you don't have to take the Coaching Special Olympics athlete. You can take the Coaching Unified Sports. If you coach traditional teams, you will take the Coaching Special Olympics athletes course. Head coaches must have all the above, as well as a current sports-specific certification. So I've sent out many, many emails. We had at least 2 to 3 total coaches training offered within the last couple of months. I sent out multiple emails about those as well. So please, if you haven't done that, let me know as soon as possible. But I believe I've been working with most of them. All head coaches must have everything above plus the sports-specific course. Everything above is valid for 3 years, which is great. We will be offering coaches training courses, the sport specific, every year, multiple ones a year. So it's not the worst thing to take them, especially if there's different people hosting them as different clinicians, and they can, because you'll always learn something different. So they are valid for 3 years and must be valid through the state tournament, just like all your forms. This is a nice little graphic, courtesy of Janet Larimore of Howard County. She's the office manager of Howard County Special Olympics. It kind of just gives you a little rundown of what is needed for each of your coaches and volunteers. So please take a look at this and make sure all coaches, all volunteers, anyone that's helping your team, they have all the proper certifications done. Unified partners, protected behaviors, and the volunteer background. So please make sure you have those as well, or they will not be able to participate. Code of conduct. The next couple of pages are the code of conduct. I'm not going to go through these. As I mentioned before, you guys are pretty good about the code of conduct. There's a coach's code of conduct. There's an athlete's code of conduct. There's a partner code of conduct, a volunteer, and a family member code of conduct. So please go through this. Like I said, you guys are usually pretty good about this, but I'm still going to mention it. Go through these, read through them. It is very important because we will be implementing the code of conduct at all Special Olympic Maryland events. Qualifying for the state tournament, simple things. Make sure you meet all the training and registration requirements and deadlines. All the coaches and volunteers have their completed paperwork in. You compete in a minimum of 3 sanctioned qualifying events. Okay, we started this last year, keeping it going this year. That includes 1, the required qualifier for your event, as well as at least, if not more, 2 other competitions. Okay, has to be 2 other competitions. You can do in-house qualifiers against other teams, but I have to approve the matchup. You can't just play against another team in your area if it's not a good matchup. Has to be a good matchup, and I have to approve that matchup before you count that as a competition, a qualifying competition, okay? So please, please, please make sure you attend the 3 qualifying events to ensure that your team is eligible for the state tournament.
Again, this is a great thing. This is Steve once again. We continue to get feedback from the athletes if they want more and more and more competition, as you can imagine, as any athlete would. And, you know, going back to previous years, 10, 15 years ago here, there was no such thing as you had to go to a certain amount of competitions. We've bumped that up, again, listening to the athletes, so that the more competition opportunities they get, the better they will be able to be at their peak performance and be ready for that high-level state competition environment. So again, the more competitions they have, the better they will be set for showing their skills.
I actually had a coach last year. They came to 3 or 4 different competitions, and I think they only had like 2 practices, but the athletes and the parents and everyone thought it was the best season ever because they got lots of competition in, and that's all they cared about. So, as Steve mentioned, the athletes wanted this, so we're doing it. This is just kind of another breakdown of how to qualify for competitions. Again, must attend 3 competitions, the required qualifier plus 2 others. So our soccer division unite, we started this will be a 3rd season doing it, and I think it's been amazing. I do it for all of my team sports. This is where I invite coaches and coordinators and our head official and my games management team in to help with the divisioning for the state competition. If you're interested in attending, you can sign up at this link. This is an interest only. So just because you sign up for it does not mean you're going to be selected to come. I have very few spots for this. It's very limited. So if you're interested, let me know. There's a link. And I will be reaching out to a couple coaches as well that I would like to attend if they're interested. I started this last year. That helps with the division night. We had the competition assessment forms. I will be having them again this year. I'm going to be emailing them out with this PowerPoint so that you have them ahead of time. But again, all the ones that I'm at, I will make sure I have hard copies as well to fill out, because I try to take as much of the coach's feedback in as I can. So I want to know if you think that was a good matchup. If not, why? And please don't say the score was even. I would really like your notes on why you think it's a good match, why you think it's not a good match, because I don't get to see all the games. It's very difficult for me to see every single game. So relying on the coaches to fill out these competition assessment forms so that I'm not just looking at the scores really helps. If I see a score, if I don't get to see a game, but I see a score that's 3-4, I think that's a great game. I might not know that a team only played their lower players. I don't know that unless the competition assessment form is fully completed. So I really would appreciate all your feedback, and I will be sending those out. And we do take those competition assessment forms into account for this division night. I lay them out all over. I have my wall of crazy up on the wall, and we really sit down and have great discussions about the divisions. They are not taken lightly, I promise you. It's formed of this committee, so if you're interested in being on that committee, you can sign up right here, and I will reach back out closer to the date to see, let you know if you were selected or not. All right, so these next couple reference slides, let's actually stop real quick. Are there any questions or anything before we move on about the soccer?
And this is Steve once again. As Zach's looking for any questions, any hands being raised, or any typed questions coming in, we do want to make one correction. Going back to the registration deadlines and timelines, we apologize. There was an error. The error occurred with the missing forms deadline. So instead of the 26th of September, it's actually September 10th. So if you could make a note of that, we will correct this in the slide deck as we post that on the coach's resource page and send it out to you guys. It was also incorrect in our sports calendar that's been out on the area memo. We will correct that as well and make a note of that in the area memo. But as coaches, please make note that the September 10th is the deadline for those missing forms for soccer.
All right, so we're going to move on. I'm really just going to breeze through these last couple of slides because it's the same slides that we use for every single preseason webinar, just references of what is needed from each athlete, volunteer, all of that fun stuff. Very, very important, no athlete or volunteer may participate in any manner in a Special Olympics Maryland program without a valid and current medical form or volunteer application and necessary volunteer certifications. This is absolutely no exceptions to this policy. Everyone must have valid medical and volunteer certifications to be eligible, or they will not be able to compete.
And this is not just, for that missing forms deadline. This is something that, as a coach, check with your area leadership and make sure anyone who's registered to participate in soccer, that they have current and valid medicals before they come on and step onto the field. Similarly with volunteers and everything, make sure everyone's forms are in place. As Melissa said, if those forms aren't in place, especially, but not just limited to, the athlete medical, if the athlete medical is not valid and current, they should not ever step onto the practice field or anything with a Special Olympics competitive practice or event.
And if someone's medical expires, say, October 15th, they must have a new medical before the September 10th deadline. It is not, they cannot wait till that date that it expires. It has to be before the missing deadline form date. The only exception is if you have a volunteer or a unified partner that is 17 and turns 18 after that date. That is the only time you are allowed to send in that volunteer application on their 18th birthday. Once they turn 18, their previous medical or their previous volunteer application is expired on that day, and a new one is needed on that day. You cannot send it in earlier. It has to be on that day so that we can run the background check once they turn 18. That is the only exception to the missing deadline rule. Okay, we're just going to go through the athlete medicals and what they look like.
And again, as coaches, this is something that you should have a copy of at all times, whether it's at practice, whether it's in transportation of athletes to an event, etc. As a coach, you need to have those copies of those medicals of the athletes in case a situation arises where emergency personnel are needed to address an injury or what have you. So make sure that you as coaches have copies of those athlete medicals and keep them somewhere that's safe and you're not going to lose them and get in the wrong hands, because there is some confidential information in that. But that is up to you guys to have that readily available in the situation if something arises. It's great to have them right there with you.
All right, so I'm just going to breeze through these. Page 1 of the medical, page 2, 3, 4, and this is only required if the athlete's doctor refers the athlete to another medical professional before clearing him or her for participation in sports. And then the waiver is page 5. Everyone must have this as well. A very big issue that we've had is number 4 on here. Please make sure they follow this and read this completely and it's filled out completely, or it will be returned. Our registration coordinator will not be able to process it, and it will be returned to the areas for the proper completion. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the one that I'm missing. This is the emergency medical care refusal form. So, number 4, if you check the second box, you must have this form completed with it, or it's not going to count. And the medical is not going to be valid until this form is completed properly. Volunteers, again, we've gone through all this. If they are a minor, so every single volunteer, unified partner, coach, everyone that's not an athlete must complete this 2-page document. It's very simple, it's very easy. We condensed it from 3 pages to 2 to make it a little more easy. Please make sure it's completely filled out. The only thing that's not necessarily needed is the Social Security number, but everything else must be filled out. If they are 17 and under, they must complete this student minor form as well. If they do not complete this in addition to those last 2 pages, it is not valid. Please, please, please make sure this is completed if they are 17 and under.
The next form here is our incident and accident report. And along with having athlete medicals with you at all times, very good practice to have the incident report. This is to collect information for insurance purposes and follow-ups that we provide to our insurance provider, and also follow up with the families or the individuals where an injury may have occurred. In some instances, depending on the severity of the injury, it may be an emergency transport right away, and you may not have time to fill out all the complete form, but get as much as you can and then do a follow-up and get it back to us as soon as possible. But again, like having the athlete medicals, have a form of this or have this form with you as well. And this is not just for bodily injury. If there's something that happens at a facility where you're practicing or anything of that nature where there's property damage, fill this out as well. It serves in both capacities for bodily injury and property damage.
All right. So any questions? If you also coach golf, powerlifting, or long distance running, you will reach out to our new sports director, Ryan Kelchner. Some of you know Ryan. He was previously, the last year, has been an AmeriCorps position as the Western Region Director with us. He just moved into a sports director position, so we're really excited to have him on board. So the fall, he'll be overseeing golf, powerlifting, and long distance running. Zach Cintron will oversee cycling and bowling, as well as kayaking this weekend. And as you guys know, I oversee flag football, tennis, and soccer for the fall. So if you have any questions, please reach out to one of us, and we'll be sure to help you with it. So at this time, if anyone has any questions or hand raises or anything like that, we'll go ahead and do that. While we're looking to see if anyone has any questions, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for everything that you do. We definitely couldn't do any of this without you. You guys as coaches and coordinators are volunteers. We understand that, and we really appreciate all the time and effort that you actually put into coaching these teams, being with these athletes, making the athletes have a great experience. And we truly, truly, truly appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. And we couldn't do this without you guys.
In addition, we also want to reach out and thank our sport management team that oversees the soccer, the sport of soccer throughout the year, and also our games management team from Salisbury and other areas that come down to help run the state championships, as well as Crown, the host venue, as Melissa mentioned earlier. Great facilities, and we're always excited to be welcomed back. And again, that's because you guys do a good job working with us to make sure that the facility is left in great condition when we leave the state championships. And again, like I said, all of our officials who come out and donate their time during the season leading up to state championships as well as state championships. So again, many of you have many hats, like Anger was saying. You may coach several sports throughout the year, and you're the backbone working with the families and working with us to make sure we provide those great opportunities for the athletes to showcase their skills and continue to grow as individuals in the community. So again, from the state office, thank you for everything you do. We're here to help.
All right, since there's no questions, thank you guys so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate it. I will be sending this recording and these slides and a couple of the forms I talked about within the next 24 hours or so, 24 to 48 hours. It'll also be posted on the coach's resource page. I'll also send you the link to that as well. So thank you guys so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you guys during the season. So everyone, have a good night.